If you aren't already, you should probably be paying attention to historical AI art, NFTs. Maybe this has to do with ChatGPT becoming popular, or people dabbling around with Midjourney, Dolly 2, some of the other tools. I saw somebody wrote a children's book using like 3 different AI tools, right? So people are starting to be a little bit creative.
It's really interesting. We may be at an inflection point here where it's like pre and post AI.
So we're here doing the first episode of The Vault, right? How unique of us to come up with a name for the company that we work with. Let's cover it. First things I want to do, I kind of have a flow. Oops, excuse me for doing that. There's a flow of the show that we want to follow. But please, everyone who's listening, forgive us for the first episode or two as we get this going and putting this together. For those that are listening, we're going to give it a few more minutes for people to walk in. Adam and I are going to kind of discuss what the objective is of the show. And the show will last about 60 to 90 minutes. And we will do all of the Emblem Vault questions and answers towards the end of the show. I know a lot of people have a lot of questions surrounding curated collections, bulk minting, Pepe, Spells of Genesis, fake rares, all of that. Everyone's all excited. We're all excited. So Adam, I'll pass it off to you for a second. Let us know. Oh, Las Vegas gal, shout out. Excited for the new show. For those that are listening on Twitter Spaces, remember that we are live streaming this on YouTube as well. So if you would like to post some comments on YouTube, head over to the Emblem Vault YouTube channel, and we will see those comments directly. If you'd like to come up on stage at some point in time, also just send Adam and myself a request and you could come on to the show. So Adam, what's good? Are you excited for the show?
What's good is I love that on Twitter Spaces, you can't actually, if you're up on stage, you can't actually completely mute the space, which is pretty amazing. Of like, you know, I don't know if you can hear my phone, but it's like, I can't turn it completely off. Like, what's up with that, dude? It's like, no, if you're on Spaces, you must listen. You're going to listen to the space no matter what. It's like, wait a minute, dude. You mean if I need to like suddenly just mute the space for some reason, like I got to talk to my wife or whatever, I can't actually mute the Twitter space? It's like, no, you're going to get this Twitter space. It's going to come into you. I'm like, seriously, man. Seriously, you can't. Try it out, guys. You tell me if you can actually mute the Twitter space. Just turn your down volume. And it doesn't actually go all the way up.
Actually, if you're listening, you can, but when you're on stage, Zib Zub says he can't hear you, Adam. It's because you're on mute.
Oh, I'm on mute.
Beginner's luck. Beginner's luck.
Wait, my voice isn't pushing through the Twitter. It should be coming through you, right?
You're muted on Twitter Spaces.
No, I know, but he can hear me though, right? Through your mic. Can you hear me through your mic or no? That might be.
No, I don't think so. You're gonna have to unmute yourself every time you talk on Twitter Spaces. Is pretty much how it works. So it's probably pretty faint. So they're probably just hearing me. It sounds like I'm talking to myself. So Adam, if you want to unmute yourself.
So you guys can hear me now, I'm assuming, yeah. Yeah. I thought we had it hooked in through, so everybody on StreamYard was coming through the coming through your audio on Twitter Spaces.
Yeah, I don't think that's actually the case. So we're working on it. We're working out the kinks of the show.
Bro, Adam, I love it, man. This is what you get when you broadcast in multiple locations at the same time, bro. This is high end stuff right here, man.
Adam, tell
people like, look, I was doing YouTube broadcasting, and I used to have to do it. I was doing it through OBS back in the old days, through OBS and Skype. I would literally have people come on my show through Skype, try to push them into OBS and try to pump that out live on YouTube, man. So this is a piece of cake compared to those days, man. So I'm grateful for it being easy now.
It's quite funny. So I can hear on my side, there's a little bit of an echo, but I think it's because of the delay. Adam, tell them a little bit of how you envision the show to go. The show is called The Vault, a show for collectors. Obviously, the community of historical NFTs is all collectors. As we know, most flippers who try to enter the space gets completely wrecked. So tell us a little bit of the vision of what you see happening here.
Well, definitely, I think we'll mix in a little bit of like interview style, like we kind of do on other Twitter Spaces and stuff. But I think this is also kind of a better opportunity for us to kind of talk about current state of affairs of historic NFTs specifically, but kind of the entire collector space in general. I think it's going to be a good space for us to kind of stay current with that. Obviously, what you get on Twitter Spaces a lot now are I don't know if you'd call it flipper NFT Twitter, but give that kind of that space, but for the historical NFT collector. I think that's pretty exciting to talk on that and, you know, talk about the sales, big sales of the week and that sort of stuff, you know, and get into a little bit of kind of more what we're interested in, which is the historical NFTs.
Yeah, absolutely. So the show, obviously Adam and I are working with Emblem Vault to support the historical NFT ecosystem, but we also want to create this as a space for people in that space to also discuss some of the ongoing topics. It does get quite repetitive at times, you know, talking about rare pepes and mooncats and the same ongoing debates of token provenance and smart contract provenance and all of these unique things that are specific to our space. We want to encourage those that are in there that we can, you know, it's okay to actually talk about, you know, Bored Apes or whatever, art blocks, things like that, because it does become a little bit of a maximalist kind of community. And if we're going to grow the space, we need to be more accepting to other people's views. Although it might be a little bit of a longer objective for some of those people to get in that camp. For the show, I want to mention that we are looking for active contributors, since this is going to be a weekly show, and then eventually probably 2 to 3 times a week. Once we get some of the Emblem Vault stuff up and rolling, and we can you know, get some more team members or some more active contributors. We're going to be discussing things like the top sales, different threads, different postings, some of the ongoing things in the historical space. If you'd like a segment on the show, it doesn't matter how big or how small your following is. If you think you would make a good addition, then please just DM me, Adam, or Emblem Vault, and tell us what you got. We need help on here. As you can see, we were having technical difficulties in the beginning. And
no, man, this is perfect, bro. What are you talking about, bro?
Yeah, it's gonna be a little bit of a slow roll. So if you're on the video, what I'm gonna do here is I'm actually going to share my screen with you guys, and we're going to cover some of the top sales that are happening within the space. So give me one.
And if you guys don't know, we will get into Peparium or Peparium or Peppa. How do you pronounce it, bro? We're still debating how to actually pronounce it.
I think it's Papirium. I know Skrilla's on the screen. It's called Pupirium for what a lot of people have told me. So I actually just interviewed Bradley. So can you guys see my screen? You can see my screen.
Got
Adam?
it.
All right. Yeah. Even Skrilla's given the thumbs down. Yeah. I just interviewed Bradley from Roaring Auctions, and he also noted in the episode that it is Pupirium for sure. Gotta love it. We'll have to bring it on. If anyone wants to come to the stage too at some point, just let us know. And if you do come on stage, make sure you raise your hand, because there's a little bit of a delay, so we don't want to be talking over each other. So top sales for the week, we actually have a handful of big ongoing sales, and that actually has been a good addition to the Twitter account. A lot of people actually love it, and this one up here is Ninja Suit, which is the relic of Saratobi and Saratobi Island. On here on the screen, you can see it's an empty vault, which means that the person purchased it and then burnt the vault. So you don't be afraid that somebody got scammed, because it did not happen. Adam, what is Ninja Suit?
Well, I think one thing to mention before that is the idea of unvaulting or unlocking the NFT and returning it to its native chain. We encourage that with Emblem Vault, as long as you're comfortable holding counterparty assets, which I recommend you get comfortable with it. It's an important aspect of being a collector of historic NFTs. So obviously what that person did is bought that and then unlocked it and returned the ninja suit to its native chain, which is great. Like, we totally encourage that. Store your stuff safely, however that is for you, however best that is for you. So yeah, we encourage that. But Ninja Suit, there actually been a couple sales, right? Another Ninja Suit I think was for sale at the Scarce City auction, right?
Yeah, we'll be covering that
traded as well. I think that one was part of a grouping, right? It was like all the Saratobi assets, right? I think Christian, who's the founder of Saratobi, actually put that auction together, and so it included kind of one of each asset, which is really cool. Obviously, the best one or the most valuable of the set is Ninja Suit. I think there are 200 of them. Although I think I've made it clear before publicly, I lost one. So there are probably 199. I can confirm that mine is lost in a Bitcoin wallet, which will probably never be recovered. But them's the breaks. And so Ninja Suit is basically the first kind of interoperable NFT that was used in Christian's game, which he built, called Saratobi. And so it's a pretty cool piece of what people like to call the metaverse, right? It's like this interoperability of NFTs across games and stuff. And what you got with Saratobi was Spells of Genesis assets and his own Ninja Suit, and Saratobi assets were playable in this game. And so that's, people like the Ninja Suit. I'm a big fan of Ninja Suit, even though one of mine is lost to the ether.
How could you? I guess you're just kind of falling.
Bro, how could I? Stupid. And well, this is what it is, man. It's like, we want you to hold your assets on the native chain, right? But know what you're doing. And I didn't quite know what I was doing. And, I got a free wallet. People were like, oh, just go get a free wallet. And I stupidly, dumb, went on Google and was like, free wallet. And they were like, here it is, freewallet.com. Went, got my free wallet, Bitcoin address. Here's the Bitcoin address. Not recognizing that freewallet.com is basically an exchange, and they can hold Bitcoin, and they'll give you a Bitcoin address. It'll work to accept your counterparty asset, but they don't have any way to access those counterparty assets. So I had the person send it there, and it's there sitting right in that wallet. And the exchange is like, sorry, we can't help you, man. I'm like, can you? No, please, I'll pay you. And they're like, sorry, man, that's you pretty much, unless we ever incorporate NFTs, which probably ain't going to happen, that NFT is gone. And that was a bad day, but that's just another story, man. You got to learn your lessons. And so I've learned my lesson. I know how to hold counterparty assets in a safe way now, or safer. And I won't make that mistake again. But that's what, when we're talking about unwrapping or unlocking your vaults, returning the native asset to counterparty and stuff, like, this is the stuff you got to be aware of, right? And don't be afraid to ask questions. I didn't ask questions. I just jumped in, and that was a mistake. So be safe out there, guys. Yeah, it doesn't take much to make one stupid mistake like that, and you lose something that is, it wasn't at the time when, so it didn't hurt as much now. It hurts more and more. And God help me, when Ninja Suit reaches like $100,000 or something, it's going to hurt real bad.
And it will, hopefully. We'll just tell them that you are giving an attribution to the Nakamoto 2999 Club. So you wanted exactly. You wanted Ninja Suit to be 199.
This is my Ninja Suit 199 Club donation. Exactly, bro.
So another big sale this week, and we actually have Skrilla in the crowd, who's the creator of this card. DJ Pepe, one out of 169 sets, sold for 6.25 WETH on OpenSea about 4 days ago. DJ Pepe is one of the first, if not the first, music NFT that had some audio files that could be downloaded afterwards. Some of the early contributions there, absolutely amazing. I might have got that wrong a little bit. My bad. I know there's here's the picture. Adam, what am I missing about this? Skrill is giving me some thumbs down.
Actually, I think another one of these sold. Did another one of these sell at the auction as well? I think that scarcity. We're almost like doubling up on these cards. Yeah, so I think one sold at the scarcity auction as well. Can you bring up that scarcity page? Because I think it is pretty interesting to see what sold over there.
Yeah, here, let me talk about this for a second.
Yeah.
I was
Tell
actually
people what this is, because I think this is actually, they do a pretty good job of kind of walking people through the steps of actually buying on here. But you can get some real good deals. I know you picked up some early Age of
so here, let me talk about this. So
Yeah.
Age of Rust was actually sold at Roaring Auctions. This is
Oh, I'm sorry.
Scarcity. So Scarcity actually operates off the Lightning Network. They've been around since 2019. They originally started selling physical Bitcoin art, which was purchasable in Bitcoin. And then they transitioned to selling rare Pepes and other XCP assets in 2021, I believe. So this was called the Test 9 collection. I was actively bidding against Token Angels and Vincent Van Dough, knowing very well I was not going to win that bid. But, I was putting a fight up.
The Bitcoin was not sufficient.
Oh man, it's like, a whale. Like there's just two whales battling, and you're just like, hey, just raising your hand. Knowing,
can you please let me have it, please?
But there's
you were bidding early on the Saratobi. I was going to bid on the Saratobi as well. But then I saw them enter, and I was like, okay, yeah, let's just bow out.
So for those that are listening, the biggest sale was actually 10-pin Putin, which sold for 1.675 BTC. It's a 1 out of 10 card of the Putin collection. The most surprising thing to me, and I think this is very telling about where the counterparty community is going, a full Yotet fake rare set, which was about 15 different cards, sold for more than the complete Saratobi set. So to me, this is just showing that the community is backing fake rares, which is probably the second most popular collection. And I think that is actually just going to continually grow over time. So the full Yotet set sold for 0.7 BTC, and the Saratobi set, which was set up by Christian Moss, who's the creator, sold for 0.625 BTC.
You can see where the interest is going. Certainly with the Bitcoin collectors, Bitcoin community, and counterparty community. Definitely, the fake rares are getting a lot of interest right now. It would have been interesting to see, or will be interesting to see, maybe if I can convince Christian to sell a set on Ethereum to see how it does on Ethereum. That would be pretty interesting. Put it all in an Emblem vault and see how it does on Ethereum. I think it'd do very well.
Yeah, that's something that we've been discussing actually internally, and I know Skrill has been talking with Shannon a little bit about how we can be creative with the collaboration of Emblem Vault Curated and the auction system and split royalties and encouraging incentivizing innovation and participation within the ecosystem. I've also had a handful of Bitcoin artists reach out to me about creating their own curated collection. So I think that community is just absolutely going to blow up. The culture there, the meme culture, the memetic culture, the kind of counterculture vibes. And also they all just like to have fun and kind of shit on each other, which I think a lot of the community, or the larger NFT community kind of misses. Everyone's kind of just trying to fight each other for king of the hill. And then with the Bitcoin and counterparty community, everyone just gets to have fun and, kind of dunk on each other, but then know that it's not as serious as people want it to be.
One of the interesting ones there is Satoshi Dice, and we talked about that earlier on I think on a Twitter space, maybe earlier this week. And some people are like, it's a total scam and stuff. And however you want to look at it, but it is kind of one of these interesting kind of things, which is this token failed when somebody tried to claim, the Satoshi Dice name, 9 years ago or whenever that was. The transaction failed. And somebody last year basically claimed it. And so it has this like it has a bit of interesting history to it, which is pretty cool. Who knows what the value is? Obviously, what's the value? $360, right? Whatever. That's what collectors put on it, but it does have this kind of interesting little bit of history to it.
Yeah, and when you move over to the single sets, the test asset sold for 32 million sats, so about $7,000, which was about about 5 ETH, a little over or a little less than 5 ETH.
It had quite a few pieces with it. It wasn't just, if you scroll down, I think it'll show kind of what.
It was just one. Test? It was just the test. People love the test. Now there's a few collections in here.
I thought it included a couple more assets in there. Maybe I'm thinking of the umbrella. I can't remember. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you move in and just to cover, Picasso sold for 0.3 BTC. SJCX card from Spells of Genesis sold for 0.09 BTC. This Spells of Genesis actually sold for the mega deal, 59 cards, but they're all the 2017 cards. Sold for 9 million sats, about $2,000 for almost 60 2017 Spells of Genesis cards. You have the umbrella sold for 0.04 BTC. And then it kind of trickles down. And at the bottom, you see some of the newer collections, some of the fake rares, some of the individuals who are creating their own brand within the counterparty ecosystem. So going to continually keep watching scarcity, because I think this is only going to continually grow as fake rares and the community grows as well. So as we move on,
I think for if collectors who are listening and mainly buy and sell on ETH, right, on Ethereum, on OpenSea, whatever. It provides, if you go through that little bit of extra work, it provides an opportunity to maybe get something, maybe get an asset for quite a bit less than you would pay, on Ethereum. So it's definitely, I would highly recommend at least checking it out, learn maybe a little bit about how to interact with counterparty and stuff like that, Bitcoin, and, maybe get yourself a deal.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we move on, the Satoshi card, the relic of Spells of Genesis, has actually been selling for higher than the FD card, which is the first one. Satoshi card was the interoperable asset within Saratobi and Spells of Genesis, which is also, I believe, the first NFT that depicted Satoshi in some sort of pictorial form. It sold for 53 WETH, which was at the time, I think, about $70,000. Just to note here that over the winter, we saw a slew of FD cards and Satoshi cards selling for around 50 ETH. I think this is pretty much the bottom for it. We know they are pretty scarce to come across. I know FD card is divisible, and there's less than 100 of those full cards that even exist.
Yep. And I think, well, what was the one? I just, now that I know that the image of the Bitcoin logo there is actually taken from the B keychain. I can't, that's the only thing I see on this image every time I look at it. It's literally, once I found that out, I was like, oh my God, that's the only thing I can look at on that card. But it has, quite a few have traded over the last month. So it is one of those, I've looked at the kind of amount of movement we've had in the historic NFT space over the last month. And, these, what we consider grails, the peak kind of NFTs in the space, it's acquisition time for those people with enough funds. If you have, 50 some odd ETH floating around, you recognize that, oh geez, it's only at whatever ETH at $1,200. This is actually a really good opportunity if I want to grab one of these before the next bull run. And, we can debate whether or not that bull run's ever going to happen. Maybe it doesn't. NFTs are dead. But if you think like you and I do that this is actually going to happen again, these just may reach a whole nother stratosphere of price. That's certainly a possibility.
We saw 6529 actually pick one of these up through his capital fund, through 6529 Capital. I don't know if Leonidas helped broker that, but he's the one who kind of broke the news on that. And just a little bit of a backstory between a lot of these big deals that have been happening. There actually have been happening kind of over the counter, where these individuals are kind of aware. There's some people who are aware that some of these relics are owned by people who prefer to be anonymous. They don't want to transact on chain, so they'd rather do things over the counter. So they have an intermediary come in, and they've been pushing these through the X2Y2 private portal, where there's no royalty fee, there's no fees, just a completely 0%, so that they could come in and take their own percentage, and pretty much acting as the marketplace. So props to those people who've been doing that. I know they've probably found some wealth and managed to stay alive during this bear market.
Well, I think there was a tweet earlier today about this very thing, right? It was about Emblem Vault, and about bypassing the Emblem Vault fees, which I totally get it. But this person on Twitter was saying, hey, but it bypassing the fees, like, if you're trying to get out of the OpenSea fees, like, totally understandable, but you're also not supporting Emblem Vault when you're doing the X2Y2. And I said to him, I actually wrote, I said, agreed. And we would prefer if everybody, pays the Emblem fees, because they help support the team. Right. But I pointed out to him, like, actually a lot of people do that. A lot of people actually do the sale on X2Y2 and then actually private the 2.5% to Emblem Vault. And I just want to say we appreciate that. Those people who do that are supporting Emblem Vault. Emblem Vault is not free to maintain and try and build. Like, what we're trying to build, this kind of infrastructure, is certainly not free. And it does support us, which supports the historic NFT community.
Yeah, absolutely. We're actually working on some solutions on the back end to help remedy that, and we'll kind of discuss more of the Emblem Vault stuff at the end. We wanted to note that I'll let Adam take this on, because he's the big Lost Robbie guy. You wrote the news back in 2021. You've been following a lot closely. I think you know some of the owners. Take us through what this announcement was on January 1st, 2023.
Well, I mean, it's just, there's so few Lost Robbies. And I mean, current estimates is maybe 35 known Lost Robbies. And so this one traded hands. We know at least 95 ETH was involved in that sale, but it's likely it was quite a bit higher than that. I think for, it being generative, it being a relatively famous artist, like in real life, like outside of NFTs, it having an amazing story. The story of, this being at, conference 2018, it was a giveaway, it was free, there were cards in gift bags, art gnomes on stage talking about it. That it has this kind of really great story around it, along with kind of this, when I was made aware of it in 2021, and I was able to find like 5 people who had these things literally buried in their closets. It's just, there's just some amazing stories around people who found them again, right? Went to the show and then just like had it in a drawer somewhere. And now they're, they have something really, really valuable. It's really cool. And I think collectors love that sort of stuff, love those stories. And certainly art collectors love kind of stories. And I know you talk about Punk 6529. He's got a couple of these in his open metaverse museum. So it's in my opinion, it's a top grail, 100%.
Yeah, one day hopefully I can get my hands on one of those.
I wanted one so bad, man.
Speaking of AI art, there's been some traction within AI art. That's probably one of the larger meta narratives that have been moving on. I'm going to show a tweet that I pulled up from Leonidas that he had posted towards the end of last year. And it says that if you aren't already, you should probably be paying attention to historical AI art, NFTs. Maybe this has to do with ChatGPT becoming popular, or people dabbling around with Midjourney, DALL-E 2, some of the other tools. I saw somebody wrote a children's book using like 3 different AI tools, right? So people are starting to be a little bit creative. Speaking on Robbie Barrett, who is the one who created the Lost Robbies, when I was doing my research for the NFT historical marketplace, I ended up rewatching that interview of Robbie Barrett in 2018 at Christie's, where he was being interviewed by Artnome, and he mentioned that there was a AI artist group who actually he quote unquote stole some of his intellectual IP, created an art piece, and then sold it for $500,000, which ended up being the first AI art piece to go to auction. You actually interviewed this group with Leonidas. Tell us a little bit about the story, if you're aware, or what was it like speaking to this group, I think of 3.
Yeah, well, these guys, French guys, they were in like grad school, and we're just like looking at like side projects, right? Just experimenting, and got into AI art. And now, yeah, they're super successful AI artists. And it was Leo was the one who found those guys, and I really had no idea about them. And we had a great discussion. I think it's still up if you guys want to go back and listen to that Twitter space. It's really interesting. We may be at an inflection point here where it's like pre and post AI. And I talked about it. I think I asked them specifically about that, was how do you look at this kind of going forward? Are we going to live in like a post AI environment where artwork kind of before, 2023 or 2022 is like, oh, that's human art, and everything kind of going forward is like a mix of human and AI. That's certainly a possibility. And it becomes interesting when you start thinking about, from a collector's standpoint, well, should I collect some stuff before the AIs were involved in every aspect of art? I don't know. It's an interesting idea. Who knows how it's going to play out over the next decade or so? But certainly we're at that point where everybody sees it. I mean, we're ChatGPT and all the rest of it. It's everywhere. It's ubiquitous. I mean, we used it, making our logos and stuff. Like, everybody's going to be using this stuff, and we're early adopters, right? But you can imagine in even a year or two, there's almost nobody on the planet who's not going to be using this stuff. So yeah, we're in that kind of interesting time right now where, if you think about early works of art that are on the blockchain, maybe those have a special place because it's kind of pre-AI.
Yeah, actually, you just brought up a little Easter egg. The Vault logo was created by Midjourney, so thank you for that free trial. Didn't have to spend a few $100s on a Fiverr artist to create the art. Just put in a bunch of words saying, "Hey, I wanted I think I put black, white, and silver logo with a V inside of Vault that resembles some sort of antique and value," and that's kind of the thing I put out after a few renditions of it.
But Jake, what's cool. going to happen to all the jobs? Where are all the jobs going to go? Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's so exciting. I mean, I know it terrifies people, and you think, I've talked to people who want to stop it. Right. But for myself, I'm excited about it. Like, yeah, certainly the crappy Fiverr artist who makes, semi-decent logos is probably out of a job. But it creates all sorts of new opportunities and frees up human capital to do more interesting, cooler, better things. So I'm excited about it.
I'm going to actually pull up here the document of the lost history of the lost Papyrium Pepes. In March of 2017, a project named Papyrium was announced. Papyrium was a decentralized meme marketplace and a trading card game that allowed users to create memes by leveraging Ethereum and IPFS. It had its own rare token, which was used for meme creation and listings. Sadly, the project fizzled away after Series 2 with only 31 different collectibles left behind. I know Skrilla actually had created his own fake Papyrium, which is kind of funny. Seems like he's always ahead of the game when it comes to these fake assets, or the fake rares, which is kind of funny, which also makes it a little bit more valuable. Here on OpenSea, it looks they had an issue recently. They have opened up a Discord, Obi the archaeologist, and ended up creating a wrapper. He said he had put months of work into this. I set 7.5% creator earnings. There's 15 cards that have been wrapped. Apparently there was an issue with IPFS, so he actually had to create a whole new wrapper for it. And I believe some people have ported over. I don't know if I have the Tawaware. Was it Tao Rare? I believe this is Skrilla's card. I don't know what's going to happen with these. I know some of the cards were minted before Curio cards, so then it became this debate, and we could kind of dive into this a little bit, Adam and Skrilla too, of if this is the first decentralized art collection on Ethereum, does this take any credibility away from Curio cards because now there is a new person sitting in that throne?
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear after this kind of relaunch by Obi, and talking to Travis in the Curio Discord and stuff, is that Rhett worked on both these contracts for sure. And so that's interesting. You know, Rhett is, as Skrilla pointed out, he's like this super genius, man. If you haven't dug into Rhett at all, it's incredible, man. He was like a child actor, like super genius at like MIT. It's incredible. He's an incredible person. Never been able to talk to him myself. I tried to get him on the podcast. He's completely ghosts, like nothing. I think he's had some bad crypto experiences, right? You know, it is what it is, but he was very early innovator in smart contracts. And I think the differentiator for Curio is Curio had the full dispensers and, you know, the trustless marketplace and all that sort of stuff that I don't believe Puperium had that sort of stuff. It seems like most, and Skrilla, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like most of the trades, it was OTC or not really at all. A lot of them didn't move at all. So, you know, there is some differentiator there between Puperium and Curio, but certainly it's undeniable that the images were stored on IPFS before the images were stored, you know, before Curio did that. So, they both, you know, have, you know, interesting things that I think collectors are going to value in the long term.
Yeah, I wanted to note too, I was talking about this with Bradley from Roaring Auctions, that with one of the things with these rediscoveries is that a lot of the original narratives get lost, and then whoever rediscovers it kind of gets to apply their own narrative to it and shill it in that way, whether it's, you know, to profit or because they're just actually fascinated with the history. And so it's important to document this. And yes, narratives do change, but an impact like that of knowing that the community was not that interested in it, are actually pretty resistant towards it, especially in the beginning of 2017. You had the block wars going on, and right, so Bitcoin's battling multiple narratives at the same time, and you're trying to create this mimetic culture on top of Bitcoin. It's important to keep that intact and to keep it aware. Although now with historical NFTs, there's collector's value because of age. You have the timestamp absolutists in a sense, and it's just, it'll deter some people away. Some people like that negative that negative media. I mean, look at, like, I was watching an El Chapo documentary the other day of when he got arrested, they started auctioning off all of his stuff, and a lot of the people who were there said that his stuff was more valuable because he was the one that owned it, even though he had, you know, he had murdered thousands of people because of him. So you just never really know. I'm sure that doesn't exactly apply to NFTs because they're pretty harmless, at least for now, or maybe they're destroying the environment, as some of the left people would like to say. But understanding the complete history of it is vital to any sort of collection.
Yeah, I think when it comes to like Puperium, it's like I don't know if it's Skrilla or Joe, maybe it was Joe, said, you know, well, just to let everybody know, we were shitting on Curio too. You know, and I think that's interesting. Certainly creates an interesting point to the history. But that history can be overcome by new communities and new adopters, right? And we've seen that with Curio. Curio is now an accepted part of NFT history, and maybe Puperium moves in that direction. But part of that is enough people kind of believing in it, right? And actually having access to it and being a collector of it. And that's going to be interesting to see how that develops over time, because right now it's just, I mean, I don't know how many people are in that Pooperium Discord. I'm in there. I think you're in there. Jake Skrill is in there. There's like 15 of us.
There's
right?
like 30 people in it.
Yeah. So, you know, whether that widens to a wider community is probably to be determined. I think it probably will over time. But part of it is this, like, you know, stories that develop about it, connections you make with it. I mean, part of the reason I love Curio is, you know, all the people I've met, you know, during the rediscovery, and the artists and the interviews and the chats, and right, all of that creates this like linkage, and that, I don't think you can discount how important that is. And it's still like the beauty of NFTs. They're there, right? And so there's no taking them away. They're going to be there. You know, how it develops, and the community that develops around it, and the collector's set and mindset around it. We'll just have to see how that plays out.
Yeah, I mean, throughout historical NFTs, you kind of see that the second version of something, whether it's a V1 and a V2 contract or similar projects, the second one tends to hold the most cultural value, which then generally has this like breakaway price compared to everything else. But I think this is then a good transition into Emblem Vault, and moving from Pooperium to Pepe's, rare Pepe's. Right, that was a bad dad joke, but we've been going at this for an hour. I think it's important to note some of the things that are to look forward to. We've been getting a lot of questions. We will likely have Shannon on here next week to talk about some of the technical things behind it. So I can speak to you conceptually about a lot of these things, but under the hood, Shannon's a genius. I have no idea how he does this stuff. Rare Pepe's, they are going to be the first curated collection to launch. There's a lot of moving parts that are going to be happening with this. I want to note this before I dive into some of the details, that we are looking for contributors to the Pepe rollout. If you have a large set of Pepes and would like to be in the sort of soft launch to help vault these, and then possibly be compensated with Koval or some of the gas fees. The goal is to get, we want to get 400 to 500 unique assets of the 1700 vaulted, so that it will be easy, or it'll be, say, more plentiful when those who aren't familiar with rare Pepes, they see this trending collection on OpenSea, and they can see the wide assortment of Pepes there, and then it just becomes this like frictionless experience. We're also going to be rolling out, and the details aren't completely finalized. We're going to have to work with every individual community for this, but for rare Pepes, because it is a decentralized project that has a lot of history, Emblem Vault will be taking a percentage of the royalties, and for an X amount of time, and donating it to XChain, Pepe.WTF, and the NFT Relics Explore initiatives. We know that XChain, first and foremost, is pretty much the vital piece to rare Pepes and the whole ecosystem. I know J-Dog's been pretty underfunded for pretty much his existence. So we do want to help support that as well. Pepe.WTF, we're actively in conversations with. I've been talking with Al about how we get that integrated immediately into the website, and then support for fake rares, fake commons, and dank rares. All of those will all have individual collections on OpenSea. And the royalty structure for that, for something like fake rares, is probably going to be a little bit more complicated than something like when we roll out something for Spells of Genesis and we're just talking to Shaban, right? It's one person comparative to hundreds of people. I know some of those communications or those conversations have been ongoing. And then the NFT Relics Explorer also has been very good to finding assets on Counterparty for the whole entire collection. So that'll be a piece. We will be rolling out an incentive and kind of, I guess you call it a rewards program for those who vault assets within the first X amount of time on the curated collections. There will be rewards. Again, taking donations if people want to donate to that, but there will be a Koval reward, maybe some gas rebates, and some assets for those who do vault within their X amount of time. And it is likely as well that there will be no co-vol fee for an X amount of time in the beginning so that we could get as many assets onboarded to the curated collection so that, again, it makes it easy for those who aren't familiar with Rare Pepes to see a wide collection there. Some new features that will be happening is bulk minting will be something. So let's say you own 2,000 Pepe Cash. I'm just going to use that for an example. You could create 2,000 Pepe vaults at one time, which then you can send them individually. I think this is mostly going to be important for things like fake rares, where you have new artists coming in and they want to sell 50 of their 100 tokens. They could just come in, create 50 vaults within one transaction, and then disperse them to all the wallets and then list them as an auction or for a set amount. That'll probably be very good. And then there is a migration portal that will be happening. Those details, this is what Shannon is actively working on right now. This is the last piece until we can finally get this going. So if you have a legacy vault, you will be able to, unfortunately, might be a little strenuous, one at a time, migrate them over. Basically what happens, and Shannon will talk about this technically, is that let me see how to explain this. Basically, you take a legacy wallet, you put it through the migration portal, the wallet is burnt. It says we can hear the spaces as well. I'm gonna try to fix that. Sorry, guys. There is a little bit of that kickback. I'm gonna try to figure that out. We will be so it burns the wallet and then takes the asset and creates a new vault for the collection itself. Yep. Oh, yeah. looks like it is fixed out. It was just me holding it too close to the mic, so I'm gonna have to figure this out. Can
I jump in for a sec, Jake? I would just encourage people.
Go ahead.
I would just encourage people, like, yes, at the beginning, it's going to be the cheapest time to vault, right? Because basically we're going to make it almost free to do that. But I would encourage, Pepe holders to vault at that time, because this is kind of like going to be the biggest kind of push right at the beginning for people on OpenSea to see Pepes. This is going to be maybe their first experience seeing Pepes. And, it's to be able to see all the different seasons and see cards for each season is going to be a big deal. And, you having a card in, season 9 or whatever, if it's the only card in season 9, well, if you want to sell that card, that's probably a good thing. So yeah, I'm going to really encourage people to do it. If not, even if you don't want to sell, just to help develop the curated collections so that new people coming into Pepes, and there will be new people guaranteed seeing Pepes for the first time there, they get a fuller picture of what it is. And I think that's pretty important.
Yeah. So moving part, I did want to note that the reason why it's the migration is one by one. Shannon said it's from a security purpose. If you don't know, Shannon's been in the security biz of crypto literally since Mastercoin, so for about 10 years. And if there is anything that goes wrong with this, if you're migrating one asset at a time, you're generally going to have a much safer experience. That being said, I'm actually going to vault all of my lower value Pepes to begin with, just to kind of go through the process. My assumption is that things like rare Pepes and some of the rare cards are probably going to be migrated last, which is probably the safest practice experience, to be honest. So that is something that I would encourage as well.
Yeah, if I had a Nakamoto, I'd probably wait a day or two. Just let's try the Pepe Cash first. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's also another interesting conversation going on, which we're going to have this individually with every counterparty collection, at least historical ones, is like, once the royalties are flipped on, where does it go? For like Pepe's, does it just go to JDog and Exchange support, right? For whatever the royalty is. Do we try to split it up between the 300 different artists? Although some of the artists are literally ghosts and have never came back. So it's just an honest conversation we want to have with the community, and we're going to be firm. And we're actually probably going to cap the creator royalty with the same as Emblem Vault. I know that some of these newer projects, they get up to 10% royalties, which we do not feel is right. We don't think that's fair unless it's like one of one art and stuff like that and super rare. But some of these PFP, like 10,000 collection with a 10% royalty is just like not fair to the person who's selling and purchasing. So we just want to continually have that conversation going, which will probably take some time. This is why rare Pepes are probably going to be a slow rollout. We're going to work for it for probably for weeks to a month or so to try to fine tune it. And then we can apply that to all of these other collections. Right now, the loose plan is rare Pepes and then Spells of Genesis, and then the rest of the Pepe ecosystem, fake rares, fake commons, and dank rares, because that's where the trend is going. Saratobi will probably follow that. And then we'll be working to whatever we think is best. I know like rare Doge, people have reached out to, oh my God, my voice just cracked. Going through puberty.
Dude, you got all excited about the Doge, man. They were all excited.
I love the rare Doge. That project, I think once people realize that there's NFTs that exist on Dogecoin, to me, that just like is just like such a huge opportunity. And there's so many cool collections there. They even have a Bellagio Doge from Las Vegas. So that's something that I'll be acquiring. It's interesting as well, because once you start getting into these curated collections, you start thinking about like, okay, what do we do with like the one of one historic assets? What do we do with Umbrella? What do we do with SIBA? What do we do with B Keychain? What do you do with some of these collections? Do you put them one of one, or do you create something like an Emblem curated historical collection and then you just list all of these assets there? And another interesting point is the interoperable assets. So with Saratobi, I think out of 9 of them, I think 7 were the interoperable ones, or 6. They can only exist in one collection at a time. This is due to arbing opportunities and security purposes. So we're gonna have to decide: does Saratobi Pepe exist in the Pepe collection? Does it exist in the Saratobi collection? Does Satoshi card exist? Spells of Genesis does exist in Saratobi. So another ongoing conversation.
Excited to have it, man. I think it should be it should be really cool to talk to the crypto Twitter and NFT Twitter and figure it out. There's going to be both sides of the argument, and but we'll get to hear both sides. It'll be cool.
There's an interesting component to the Doge Party community, which we had previously discussed as well. So Doge Party is a little bit different than Counter Party, although it's a similar asset structure. Is that you had the project existed 2014, 2015, then died out, and then was revived in 2021. So the people who collect stuff on Doge Party is generally just the earlier stuff. So we either create just a full 2014 collection that has all the assets, or we split it up by the individual creators themselves. Because you also have somebody like Little Shibe, who has, I think, like 200 2014 minted assets, who's creating his own project called Doge World. So it's like, do you create a Doge World project, or do you just lump him into the 2014 tokens themselves? So just a lot of interesting and ongoing debates that have to be had. Dogfather, since you are active with the community, what do you think, just at first glance? Once we get past the curated collection vaults, then we can start creating the curated collections for ERC 721s, which then moves over to like Namecoin, and then to other blockchain integrations like Amercoin, and even outside of the historical space, you can start creating things for, I'm just going to use random shitcoin examples like Tron and EOS and whatever, that people just want to bring their assets to Ethereum, to people who just want to pump it, honestly, sometimes, right? As we've seen, people are pumping feet pics right now. So sometimes it doesn't even matter what's there. You could just get that meta narrative going. And that's all that has to be said.
Dude, you learn about these other blockchains. I'm like, what? Somebody was like, what? I don't know, Zion. I don't even know what the hell the name of the blockchain. I was like, I don't even know what that is. And they're like, bro, we're the first NFT on this. And I'm like, dude, I've never even heard of your blockchain, bro. But amazing.
Yeah, should be pretty interesting. We're gonna have an exciting first Q1 and Q2 for Emblem Vault. I think this is kind of coming out to the end. Oh, I put a question up before we came here. Adam, what do you think? I don't know if you saw it. What do you think comes first? Historical NFT nerds buying tokenized antiquities, or the antique junkies buying historical NFTs?
Wait, repeat that for me. My brain couldn't. It got twisted, man. Repeat that for me.
So let's say what's going to happen here in the future is that, and somebody actually commented, I think it's called Julian's Auction House NFTs. They're basically issuing NFTs against actual antiques, like real antiques. Some sort of asset sold for about $200,000, and they issued and it's some sort of old antique, and they issued the NFT as the digital certificate of authenticity. So do you think it's likely that historical NFT people start buying tokenized antiques, or on the other way around, the antique geeks start buying historical NFTs?
Definitely the other way around, man. Definitely the other way around. I think we're going to make an impact first before they do. We'll make an impact into the wider world first. Because frankly, when people understand NFTs, and I wrote a Twitter thread today about kind of what I think are the main sticking points for people understanding crypto. But once they understand it and you explain historical NFTs, like that's actually, they get that very, very quickly once they understand NFTs and crypto. So I'm Mr. Bullish over here.
Sufficiently bullish. The person who actually wrote in the comments said that they had sold some asset for $200,000 with the NFT companion was actually not a crypto person. So completely flipping it on its head. I'm going to find more information. Was DMing with them right before this.
It's interesting. How do you, if it's not a crypto person, how do they store the asset? That's the interesting, is it on Coinbase? How are they doing it? Right. It's that becomes an interesting conversation for sure.
Yeah. When you start thinking about, I'll call on Skrilla right after this. Once you start thinking about all of the potential business models that can come from the historical space outside of just collecting, we started as collecting history, and then you can make history by creating some sort of product. An over-the-counter business is probably something that can happen right now. Tokenizing antiquities is another one. There's so much opportunity out there in this maturing digital antiquity space. I like what can happen. So once I learn more about that, I'll definitely share. Yeah, that's the idea of like the smart contracts provenance. There's so many collectors that are just completely turned away because it's minted on a Nifty Gateway contract or essentially controlled contract, right? It's kind of the idea of like not your artist contract, not your NFTs, right? It's kind of the addition of not your keys, not your coins. So I completely agree with that as well, because I personally don't collect anything on these shared contracts. I might make the exception to super rare because that just seems to be gaining a lot more momentum. But I mean, I was hearing even rumors that Nifty Gateway was having issues with solvency. And so if that ends up being the case, they could end up like a Scribe, like Rare Bits, like what's the other one, Rare Marketplace, like all these other ones where the stuff is just completely lost forever.
Yeah, I mean, it gets into the idea of Skrilla makes a great point. Well, if the original, for example, if the original artist isn't the one who at least minted it, I mean, it's okay if it's minted on whatever, even an OpenSea contract. I mean, if Xcopy minted on OpenSea today, it would still have value, but obviously it's going to be less of a value. But there is that very interesting when it comes to in real life items. Even if I'm the owner of an antique, that antique couch behind me, right? If I then create a token, there is that kind of like, feel to it. It's not the original artist. It's not the person who actually produced the item. So yeah, it's something that's going to be interesting as we get more kind of tie-ins to in real life items to see how that kind of plays out.
Yeah, I tend to agree as well. Although some of these NFT conferences I've been going to, I've seen people experimenting with mostly sports memorabilia. I saw people tokenizing like old Michael Jordan basketballs and autographs and things like that. Actually, there was a company that I was going to work for at some point last year. It's a big multi-billion-dollar company that I was consulting on. Something that they were going to do was issue NFTs against their product and then take this product and store it inside of a vault. And then these people can then just trade the NFT that represents the value of these like valuable assets in the real world. So that's also right. That just opens up like a liquid secondary market to some of these antiques, which is very similar to you see with like kind of just golds like that, right? Like all the gold shares and are just pieces of paper that represent the gold somewhere in a vault stored somewhere. So that just to me seems like another opportunity, because most of us we just want to trade the value. We don't actually want to own the assets. It might be a little bit different with collectors in a sense. I mean, especially if you know that it's stored somewhere. But man, if I was rich enough and if I was a whale who could just like trade the value of that constitution of $40 million in a liquid market, right? That just seems like it just brings much more attention to the overall collectible space, physical and digital.
Yeah, I think I saw those guys in Miami at one of the conferences. Those exact guys, you know, doing the sports collectibles, because it makes a lot of sense, right? But it's kind of anti-crypto in a way as well, right? It's like you're trusting them to vault it. I've talked to people they've tried to do tokens around, you know, silver or gold. And it's like, well, we're audited. The gold's really there. Or, you know, the Michael Jordan shoes are really in the vault. So it's kind of one of these areas that's really new, and we'll see how it plays out, man. I don't know. It's a little bit uncrypto, but you know, I get the efforts. And I apologize for this birds. I think I just got a bird fly in this house, man.
Yeah, that's that Costa Rica vibes, right? How funny. Yeah, I might have to go open up my own now, digital, or the digital version of an antique store, and just swapping liquidity back and forth. Because you guys trust me, right? Not your antiques, not your value, or something like that. The birds are going off. We've been going at this for an hour and a half. I promise next time, everybody, we will have better video quality. I think I've figured it out just through the practice of what the actual issue is. All I have to do is just flip this button here.
I figured the issue was McBride. McBride's the issue, man. I think let's just blame it on McBride. It's easier.
Yeah, damn boomer. Yeah, thank you guys for coming. Let us know thoughts, how we can make the show better. Again, we are looking for contributors. If you want to be a regular co-host to the space, maybe you have a cool segment surrounding collectibles, maybe you want to report on Counterparty or Doge Party, or just be the updates person for certain things. We need some help here, and we'd love to help share your message. We want to review articles, different things like that. So this will be going on again next Friday, same time, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Over the next few months, as we work the kinks out, then we'll probably start doing this twice a week. And then hopefully it could be a daily show so that we can sit among the other giants that are doing morning shows and show that we are an active community of collectors, and we'll get the F out, and that stands for flippers.
Thanks everybody for joining. I appreciate it.
Thank you guys for joining. I will see you next Friday.